Hello everybody, I'm Thomas. Welcome back to another video. This time I'm back with the second episode of my series, Let's Roll Up a Dungeon, where today we will be rolling up a dungeon using the 4 Against Darkness system. Today's dungeon will be Hollow's End, an underground, undead, crypt, sanctuary, city type place. So like last time, first I will go over the source material I'll be using, then I'll quickly go over the dungeon outline I have prepared for today, and then finally we'll get to rolling up the dungeon. Today I'll be using 4 Against Darkness, a solitaire dungeon delving pen and paper game. I recently did a playthrough of this on my solo gaming Sunday, so if you want to see an action, go ahead and check that out, but we'll go and start talking about the dungeon generation in here. All right, so this book doesn't have too much as far as dungeon generation. It mainly just has the mapping system, and that's pretty much it. So it's a D6 base system, so all you'll need is 2 D6s to roll up some dungeons. The first page here goes over the entrance room. So you roll a single D6 to decide what the entrance of your dungeon is going to look like. After you have your entrance all figured out and drawn, then you pick one of the doors in your dungeon entrance and you roll 2 D6 to see what's on the other side, whether it's a corridor or a room. And that's what pretty much all of the rest of this is for all the different corridors and rooms you can generate using 2 D6. Now there are some tables here that you can use to help figure out the contents of the rooms. There is a room contents generator to see if you find, treasure, or if it's like a boss monster, or if it's just empty. Then on the next page, you have stuff like special features. So if you want special features in your room, you can add them through this. You also have special events of stuff that can happen in a room. You have a little treasure table if you're wanting to roll up some treasure, also some magic treasure. And you have the vermin table for some lower level monsters, minions for just some classic minion style monsters. And then finally you have a boss table for the really big bads that are going to be in the dungeon. You also have a weird monster table for boss-like creatures, but they're a little bit more unique. And you have a quest table over here for just random quests that can be given throughout the dungeon. And the final little page here is for the epic rewards of some really epic style rewards that you might get from various means throughout the dungeon. But besides that, that's pretty much it. This doesn't have nearly as much as the last source we covered, the Dungeon Master Guide, but it still does, I think, a great job at mapping out a dungeon. So with the source all covered, I'll quickly hop over to the outline and we'll talk about that. All right, here's the outline I've prepared for the dungeon today. It is a similar style outline that I did previously with all the similar style points and whatnot. So the name of the dungeon is Hollow's End. The size is medium, so it's going to be about 10 rooms ideally. Then for the third point, that is the type, which it's going to be a kind of sanctuary crypt type of dungeon. As far as the detail tags, I have undead and hills, because undead, there's going to be a lot of undead, necromancy, stuff like that. And hills, I envision this being built in a hills area. As far as the purpose for the dungeon, Hollow's End was established as a sanctuary for the forbidden practice of necromancy and dark magic, away from the prying eyes and judgmental rulers. Over time, it evolved into a citadel of dark power, where Nalthor the Shadebearer aimed to amass an unstoppable army of undead and unleash it upon the world above. For the history of the dungeon, it was built in the hills behind a nearby city's graveyard. Hollow's End was a marvel of both arcane and engineering prowess. However, the constant dabbling in forbidden magic drew the ire of various religious and arcane factions. After Nalthor's apparent demise, the city went silent, but its dangers and dark treasures remain, tempting brave souls to venture into its depths. So as far as the factions that you'll encounter in this dungeon, the 3 main ones I came up with was the Eclipsed Covenant, which is a group of dark mages and warlocks seeking to harness Hollow's End's power. Then you have the Silent Sentinels, which are undying guardians of the city, bound to protect its secrets. And then finally, you have the Umbral Chain, which is a network of spies and assassins that were once Nalthor's eyes and ears that are still operating in the shadows. For enemies and creatures that you can encounter here, you got the Skeletal Guardians, which are the remnants of Hollow's End's army. They guard key locations. Then you have the Necrotic Alchemists, which are undead spellcasters who continue to experiment with dark magics. Then you have the Void Walkers, beings from another plane drawn to the city's dark energy. You have the Forgotten, which are once citizens, now mindless zombies roaming the streets. And finally, you have the Cursed Champions, who are heroes of the coalition who tried to storm the city and fell. They are now serving Nowthor in death. So a couple quest hooks that I have prepared for this dungeon. First one is called A Dark Prophecy. So a seer has foreseen a cataclysmic event tied to Hollow's End. She believes a dark ritual is being prepared deep within the city to unleash an undead scourge upon the world. The adventurers are sought to prevent this impending doom. Next quest is the Unending Night. The region around Hollow's End has been plunged into an unending darkness. Local druids believe the unnatural light is emanating from the depths of the city and balance must be restored. And the last quest is The Witch's Request. An old witch, now regretting his dark past and seeking redemption, requests the players to descend into Hollow's End to retrieve a spellbook. It contains the ritual he believes can end his undead state and allow him to rest. Then some environmental tags. So for the condition and lighting, I figured it's going to be pretty ancient and dimly lit. As far as sounds you'll hear, I figured probably some faint whispers and skeletal chatter of the skeleton guardians and whatnot wandering about. As far as smells, probably the main thing, rotting corpses is probably gonna be a big one there. And then as far as like the temperature and kind of the feel, it's probably gonna be pretty just damp, maybe a bit cooler. And then finally, some rooms you might find here in Hollow's End. You have the Gates of Desolation, a grand entrance with massive stone doors guarded by skeletal sentinels and wraiths. You have the Vault of Echoes, which is a chamber where every sound is amplified and echoed. You have the Abyssal Pits, which are dark, deep holes where failed experiments and formidable undead lurk. It's said that the pits are bottomless and lead to other darker realms. You have the Abyssal Reservoir, a vast underground lake filled with dark, brackish water. Next, we have the Garden of Lament, a ghastly garden with plants that feed on necrotic energy inhabited by undead beasts and plant creatures. Then you have the Crystal Cavern, a network of caves shimmering with raw necrotic energies. Next is the Forge of Despair, an underground smithy with ghostly flames. Next is the Boneyard Arena, an open area surrounded by bleachers filled with skeletal spectators. Next, you have the Shadebearer's Throne, the central chamber with the Dark Throne. And then finally, you have the Cursed Gallery, a corridor adorned with haunted paintings. So with that all out of the way, let's roll up a dungeon. All right, I have my iPad all set up here to draw this out. First things first is to get an entrance room rolled up. So I just need a single D6 roll to see what the entrance room will be. And that is a 3. All right, so there's the entrance all drawn up. And now we have essentially 3 different passages to kind of go down and figure out what we want to draw first. I'll just go left to right. So take my 2d6 and let's see what the next area is. And I got 66. All right, so there is our first room. I think I'll go ahead and see what's to that door to the left. So let's roll more d6s, and that's 13. All right, so that's all drawn up. We got a little bit of a snaking hallway going on, and let's just continue left to see what's behind that top left door, and that is a 44. So it looks like another room. All right, so we got another little room right there, and I guess I will kind of continue that door down to see what's below that room, which looks like we get a 31, which will be a small room. Sweet, let's see what this next door below this next room is, and that's 22, which is another room. Okay, well, this new room leads this passage kind of just going down to nowhere, and we're kind of at the bottom of my drawing area, but I think that works fine because this would make for a good side entrance / exit. So I think we kind of just leave that as is, and I'll maybe hop back up to this door to see what's going on up there, which we get 46, which 46 is going to be another decent sized room. All right, well, let's see where this room goes, but we're already pretty much halfway through the room's amount, so I might have to also just like end one of these and then we'll see what's down the other corridors or something. But a 21, oh, that works perfect. It's a room that has no other exits. All right, so there's the new room up there. At this point, I kind of want to, I still have one more door I could draw out, but I kind of want to see where these other main entrance like hallways go, because I feel like those are pretty important. And maybe I should have did all 3 of those first and then branched out, but we're here now. So let's see what the middle entrance goes to, which looks like it's going to be 65, which is kind of a zigzag hallway. Okay. Okay, well, it looks like both of these doors then are pretty much going to go to the same room. So let's see. I'll start from this door and kind of see where it goes. And maybe this door could be like a secret exit or something that kind of goes to the same area. We get 26, which 26 is just a small corridor. Okay, so maybe those rooms don't go to the same place because this, I mean, I could have made this kind of go the same area, but then that wouldn't, I don't know, I didn't like that idea. So, okay, let's continue this right door, and we get 32, which is like an H-styled corridor. All right, there's our new corridor, and here's a quick overview of the progress so far. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms. Not bad. And let's just keep going with this top door. Actually, I do want to see where this right entrance goes first, because I want to kind of get that figured out before I start exploring too much further into this dungeon. So that's an 11. So looks like just a corridor. All right, well, this is kind of interesting. I guess let's see where this corridor keeps going, but I'm gonna have to like modify this probably or something. 14. Yeah, that's definitely not gonna fit. I'm gonna do a reroll, and if not, I may have to just like modify whatever I get. So 32, because I want to see like what would go in this top area. I mean, there's some stuff that I could just put there that would like fit, but well, I don't want to just pick and choose. What's the whole point of rolling for the dungeon then? Yeah, 32, that's also not gonna work. Let me do this, 23, there we go. Is that better? That's still not much better. All right, let me do one more roll, and then if not, I might just like connect them up or something. 36, yeah, that's also not gonna work. Okay. Okay, so I modified stuff a little bit because I don't know if I was gonna get something that would work great there. So yeah, I kind of just connected this whole way up. I also got rid of that door because I don't think much could really go there. I could make like a passage between these two, but I mean, they already connect down there and they're gonna like loop around and connect up here. So I really don't think it's necessary to have another passage that goes between them. So we're just gonna leave that as is. And I'm kind of curious back to this door, what's behind that one. So rolling that up, I get a 23 again. I think I can do that. Okay, yeah, I had to like mirror it a little bit, but I can squeeze in that room there. These are kind of close together, but it's not the end of the world. So let's see what's above this room here on the left. So that is a 61, which looks like it'll be a pretty big room. Okay, that is, I think, room number 8. I'm gonna roll up this door now because I'm kind of curious. These will probably go to the same thing, and if not, I'll probably make it work just so that they go to the same place. But let's see what's behind that door, and that looks like it's a 25, which I think I can make work. Okay, there we go. It's not my best drawn room, and I had to move the door up just one spot, but I think that works pretty good. And I believe that's room number 9, and we only have 2 doors left. So I'll go with the one on the left. Let's see where that one goes, and maybe they'll connect up or something. 65. No, that is just a corridor. All right, we got a corridor there. Let's see what's above that. We got 24, so it looks like a small little room. Okay, so will probably be the last room. And at this point, there was supposed to be another door that goes up, which I just kind of removed. And then what I think I'll do is probably connect these two with some sort of like zigzagging hallway kind of corridor. So let me do that real fast. All right, so there's my little curved corridor. Pretty much all done, though I did forget about this little door down there. So I'm gonna roll till I get a room. 25. That works. All right, and there's that room. It's supposed to have a door over here, but I think I'm going to not add that just so this dungeon can be pretty much done. So here's a little zoomed out view. Also making sure I didn't really forget any extra doors. I think we're all good, and we should have about 11 rooms. Which, looking over this dungeon, I'm pretty happy with it. It's kind of got decent amount that kind of connects up. This area over here doesn't really connect to this main portion, but I don't know, maybe this is like the side exit, so maybe this isn't the as important part. Maybe like this part's kind of the more important, so that's why it's all connected up. I don't know, something like that. But let's go ahead and start labeling these with some of the rooms from the outline. All right, so the entrance makes the most sense for the Gates of Desolation. So I think that will be that. The Vault of Echoes, I don't envision being too important, so I think I'm actually going to put it way back here. As for the Abyssal Pits, I think that would make a good spot for maybe over here. And then the Abyssal Reservoir, I kind of like these semicircular rooms as they can be multiple of the Abyssal Reservoirs. Then for the Garden of Lament, I kind of like the idea of putting it next to one of the reservoirs since it's kind of right next to water, so I think that makes sense. As for the Crystal Caverns, maybe we can make that this little area and room down here where the secret exit / entrance. Okay, then for the Forge of Despair, I feel like this area back here would make a good spot for it, so we'll put it in that room. And then the Boneyard Arena, I'm kind of debating. I kind of like the central area for that to be the case, or it could be back here, but I feel like it would be probably more of a central thing in here, a central kind of area. So we'll go with that. As far as the Shadebearer's Throne, I kind of like this room here because that's pretty central in the dungeon. And then we have the Cursed Gallery, which I think would be good for maybe... I was gonna say over here, but we could just make that a corridor and maybe put that up there. Okay, I think we'll make this area the Cursed Gallery. And then I'll probably just put some duplicate room right there when we think about which one I want to put. Okay, well, you know what I think I'll do is actually move the Forge of Despair into that room, and then we'll make this back room something else. I'm kind of thinking either another garden. Yeah, I think that's what I'm leaning towards. I'll probably go with that. Another Garden of Lament that maybe is more kept, or maybe they use it for the forge. I'm not too sure, but I think with that, all of the rooms are labeled. All right, with this dungeon, I think pretty much all completed. Let's do a bit of a final walkthrough, starting with the entrance with the Gates of Desolations. We have these massive stone doors probably on each of these areas. I guess I can draw in another stone door kind of right here. That there will be some skeletal guardians and whatnot there. If you take this left path, that'll take you into the Boneyard Arena, which is a big open space with bleachers and spectators. It's supposed to be like an arena type area where people probably fight and whatnot. You get this corridor, then that takes you up to the Forge of Despair, an underground smithy with ghostly flames, and then the back area behind the Forge of Despair has one of the Garden of Laments, a ghastly garden with plants that feed on necrotic energy, like undead beasts and creatures in there and whatnot. This door in this area 3 is the Abyssal Pits, dark deep holes where failed experiments and formidable undead lurk. So that's fun. And then if you go down this door, that takes you to the Cursed Gallery, which is adorned with haunted paintings. And then finally, way here on the left, that is the Crystal Caverns, a network of caves shimmering with raw necrotic energies, which has a passage leading out. So that can be an extra entrance / exit. So then from the Boneyard Arena going north, you have this hallway / room that is the Shadebearer's Throne, the kind of heart of the dungeon. Above that, you have another Garden of Lament. Then you have a corridor leading up to the Vault of Echoes, which is kind of just chilling up there. Another corridor wraps back around to this number 4 area, which is one of the Abyssal Reservoirs, a underground lake. Then that corridor leads you in splits and kind of goes back into the main center part of the entrance. And then finally, you have this right-hand portion here with another Abyssal Reservoir. And that is Hollow's End. I think this did a great job at mapping out this dungeon. Obviously, 4 Against Darkness does not have nearly as much as Dungeon Master Guide had as far as like filling the dungeon with different contents and whatnot, but the main reason I'm doing this series is for the mapping portion of it. That's why I come in prepared with my outline, so I have some stuff to actually fill in the dungeon with. But I think this did a good job at creating some an interesting dungeon layout. It has some interesting rooms, a lot of corridors, stuff that kind of connects up, especially with these like two portions. They kind of meet up here and then they meet up here. And yeah, so I think it does a pretty good job at kind of looping around. And I probably could have done something like over here if I wanted to connect it up. But honestly, I'm kind of fine having these separated kind of as they are. But overall, I think this will make for a great dungeon. Before wrapping up this video, I will quickly tease out next week's episode of Let's Roll Up a Dungeon, where the supplement I will be using will be D100 Dungeon. So we'll see how that does at creating a dungeon. And the dungeon next week I will be creating will be one called Gloomwood Bastion, which will be this forest temple that's going to have all sorts of like traps and creatures, and it's going to be a lot of like nature-ish kind of stuff. So that's what will be coming up next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. And until next time, I'll see ya.